Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Hey there, live from the Waffle Nerd Studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz says,
I love it.
okay, good. We're here. Great to have you.
My favorite.
I have a question for you regarding fear and greed and the emotions of the market.
Okay.
Now, are you guys, I know you're long-term investors, but you also got some short stuff too, right? Or do you dabble in the
A little bit.
little stuff on day trader?
Sanitation.
Speaking of the day trader,
Construction.
let's have the day trader trio. There they are right there. Day trader trio. So do you know what day trading is?
Are we talking like the E-Trades, the Schwabs, the...
No, those are retail brokerage accounts. Do you understand when I say day trading?
You trade...
You're buying and selling.
You are.
The moment the market opens
So-
up to when it closes?
No, not necessarily, but,
Okay.
but you usually have an idea when the market opens if you're going to be a day trader. It's interesting is that when you buy a stock, you usually buy it for a number of reasons. Somebody told you to buy it, you research it yourself, you like the management team, you like the industry, it's robust in terms of whatever. But when you buy a stock, if you are an equities investor, you're not looking to get out of the stock. You're letting it, what's called the long soak, right? There's a fishing term, it's a long soak. I'll give you an example of that. Had you taken your money out of the stock market, the last 10 times it dipped, and then put it back in when it dip. Oh my God, I'm out. Your return on investment over the last 12 years would be roughly 6%. If you left it in, kept it at risk, and got those, because you can't time the top or the bottom, right? You can't ever sell at the top, and you never. Sometimes you do, but rarely can you. Your return on investment would be probably close to 10% to 12% had you just left your money at risk. Okay, so that's why you invest for long term. Okay. Day traders, and I day trade, for full disclosure, 2% of my equities. 2% maybe less, maybe 1%. It's not a lot of money. Well, it depends who you are, right? Yep. Long story short, though, is this: a day trader will look at a stock and use technical analysis to determine. Technical analysis, by the way, started from a thing called the Elliott Wave principle, where basically it says, I'll explain how it works. If you bought a stock at $100, okay, let's just say you bought one share of $100, okay, that stock goes down to $80, and hope against hope you didn't sell it. Oh my God! And now it starts coming up. Emotions of the market. Oh my God, this is great. Is it happening? Exhilaration. Oh my God, it's at $100 again. What do you think most people are going to do?
Sell.
Exactly right. They dodged a bullet, didn't they?
Right.
Listen, I had my 100, and I got my 100 back. I'm out. You can predict stocks like that because there's what's called a moving average, and there's what's called an oscillator. It'll tell you whether a stock is trading too high for its recent trading range. It'll also tell you, where are those points where people got in and out, and you can almost predict if a bunch of people got in here and it dipped. That's called a support resistance level. It means when it goes up to here, it's going to have a hard time getting out of it. And when people drop it, it's going to have a hard time going below it. Day traders look at that and they determine themselves, look, I think I can make some money here by looking at technical analysis. In fact, there's really, honestly, those dummies books, Technical Analysis for Dummies, is if you want to learn it, you could. I don't suggest being a technical trader, but I will give you one tip here, which I think is important. If you're going to buy individual stocks, the second you place that order, place a sell order on what's called a trailing stop. And that means that I'm going to put a stop loss in. I personally think you should put a 10% stop in or a 5% stop in. Means if that stock drops 5%, you're out. Don't have to look at it. Set it and forget it.
Gotcha.
A trailing stop means as it goes up and it drops down, you're automatically getting out of it.
Okay.
So it's a set it and forget it.
So it lives with it forever?
So it's usually 6 months. They'll cancel. You have to redo it. Or sometimes if there's a split or there's something like that, they'll automatically cancel at the brokerage. But if you buy an individual stock, the best tip I can give you is to sell it immediately under a stop loss order. I refuse to lose 5%.
Yeah.
So mine's 5%.
Right.
Trailing stop. Okay. Trails.
Excellent advice.
Take it.
Wow.
So I'm here.
That was
So I'm
free.
Here.
That was free.
My job's done here. Free.
You don't wait till it comes back.
Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks. If we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullyentgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Big Biz Show for the Loft 100 Studios. Beautiful, sunny Southern California, although the May gray is here. Unfortunately, Costa, Mary Bergadin, Greg Todorov, and Sully. It's literally like May 1st.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can ask me anything you want.
When I say, how many times have I said? When the bell goes, you go?
Yeah.
So when I do this, if I did this to you,
Yep.
what would you do?
Go. Whatever go means.
Did you not hit the bell?
When the bell goes, go.
I didn't hear a bell that time.
I didn't hear a bell.
Oh, should we roll tape?
Oh, that.
Would you like to bet $10,000?
There was a bell?
The bell.
Would you like to bet $10,000 a minute?
Okay, so was I late?
There was a ringing
You've
bell.
done it 4 times.
There was
Today
a
I said,
ringing bell.
when the bell goes, you go. And I go like this. You go.
And I've been nailing it.
You've not been nailing it. Okay. Can we roll tape on this, please?
And with the plan, Sully.
Big Biz Show for the Loft 100. What? Okay.
Dude, 4 times today.
Okay.
4 times. I say, when I hit the bell, you go. Because I'm going like this. Bell, Mike.
Okay.
And every time I hit the bell, and you go, what did you think I meant by that?
I see what you were trying to avoid.
No,
you're trying to avoid me going like this.
No.
I should just be
Just
listening.
go.
Okay.
Bell go. Bell go.
Bell go.
3, 2.
Big Biz Show going along. Come here, one more chance, Dad. Please.
No. What was?
Do you wait till the end of the sound, or do you go right?
You go.
No, you go. He's right. You go. You go. There's no.
What did you think Belgo means?
I screwed up. I own it.
No.
I wear it.
It wasn't a screw up. Did you just ignore me?
You would be a horrible boxer, by the way. You realize that, right? Why does this guy keep hitting me? Well, son, the bell rung.
Remember the Rocky movies? Remember the Rocky's like. Right. What is the worst trouble you ever gotten at work?
At work?
Yeah. Worst trouble you got at work.
Something going out over the air where I thought the mic was in radio. I thought the mic was off when our board op had left them on, and
so not the number one rule, but maybe the number one rule.
Mic is always hot.
Number one rule in TV stations and radio stations and studios.
Mic is
assume that the cameras are on and the mics are off, even though the lights aren't on.
100%.
I mean, even when you go, sometimes I have a beverage here in between, the breaks and stuff like that.
You gotta stay hydrated.
And sometimes it's delicious, right? And it's like that line in Mike and Dave need wedding dates. What do you know about alcohol? Only that it's delicious, and I love it. He was an alcohol rep. That's all you need to know. It's delicious, and you love it.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to go she in the middle of the thing.
Yes.
And here's the deal, Mike.
Oh, he used my name.
Uh-oh. Forget it.
No, come on.
No, I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it to you. I can't do it to you.
Do it.
I'll do it. I can't do it to you. Let me. I'll hold that for. In fact, I'll do it later in the show.
Okay. All right. Fair
What
enough.
is the most trouble you ever got at work? Like trouble, like big trouble.
I overspent because on a Facebook ad, I put an extra 0 on the spending.
Oh.
On the ad
Do
limit.
I know about this?
It was a previous place of work.
Oh.
It was yesterday, Sully.
A previous day at work.
The lights start going out.
Yeah, I am now fired.
So were you supposed to spend 250? You spent or 2,500 or 25,000?
Yes. I mean, it wasn't that much, but it was a lot, and it was a nonprofit, so it was not like there was the money there. It was not a good moment when I realized that situation.
You know that measure twice, cut one thing, cut once thing. You know, measure twice, cut once. Have you heard that?
Totally.
Were you
Measure
the one?
twice, cut once.
Were you the one who realized the mistake? Or
Yes, I did.
Okay,
No,
well,
I realized it.
All right,
That was
like
one
I
of the
did with
worst
the bell. I
Did you ever get your shorts handed to you, Craig? Because I mean, you are. I know you personally, and you are like me.
Yeah.
You are a little OCD on the edge, like I am.
Right.
Little dots.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if,
eyes dotted.
But listen, do you know how much money he's made me in my life because he's like that? Yeah. I'm all, no way, you're an idiot. Oh. Don't you love it? And he knows how to handle me too after all these years. But did you ever get your butt slapped or anything like that? Have you ever got in trouble?
I think I did, probably back in those teenage years when you're working at a golf course and you accidentally crash one of the golf carts.
Oh,
perhaps something like that.
And the first words out of their mouth was, "Are you okay?" It wasn't. Are you okay?
Perhaps something like that happened, but yeah.
Have you guys ever worked in a restaurant in your life?
Sure.
Have you never worked in restaurants?
Yeah. Oh,
Were you a waiter or bartender?
Yeah, waiter.
I was a bartender.
Shocker.
I was a bartender in my 20s.
Oh, good job.
A little bit in my 30s. Oh,
yeah.
Boy, because you are king. You are Turd Island.
Driving the bus.
You are just, and for some reason, the funny part is you're making minimum wage, okay, and you're acting like you're Tom Cruise and Cocktail.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Did you do that? Did you do?
Oh hell yeah, yeah. That's when we started doing that.
Oh
the mixer?
God, I can see this now.
Oh, yeah.
I could spin the mixing cup on my finger.
Did it ever crash? And
Never.
You were embarrassed?
Oh, hell no.
No.
What I'm doing like this?
Oh man.
Oh yeah, you catch it like that.
The bartenders always think they're the coolest guy in the room, Sometimes they are. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times, of course.
Well, I was the coolest guy in the room because I handed a lot of free drinks.
Yeah, and that's why they're the coolest.
And look at, so truthfully, it was, I had a shift after the Jimmy Buffett concert.
After. Okay.
So we had this thing we called the batch. And I had a BFC. You know what a BFC is?
Yeah.
First word
big.
Big, last word cooler.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, big F and cooler.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'd pull out the BFC, and I'd put in like at least 3 bags of ice, and all the guys would get around, and we would put in, like 3 bags of these lemons and 3 bags of these limes, and full bag of C&H sugar, and tequila, and tequila.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
It's delicious.
Yes.
And so what we would do in the parking lot of the Jimmy Buffett concerts, I'm telling you the story, is I had an Aloha shirt and a baster in my pocket.
Oh,
and we'd flip that thing over and we'd walk around to all the girls and we'd feed it like...
It's like your version of a tequila popper.
Yeah, right. But the problem was after a while, as the thing's getting lighter, it's getting 2 for me, 1 for you.
Oh, yeah.
Never made it in the concert. Had a shift that night.
Oh,
a shift or
a bartender?
Bartender shift.
Yeah.
Had a shift that night.
8 hours?
How'd that go?
No, it was actually it was no, it was a regular. It was like I didn't close. I remember it was because the concert was during the day.
Okay.
I had to be there like at 6. It was
All
like
right,
a 6 to 9 shift or something like that.
Oh man, still. Just seen double?
Well, yeah, not only seen in double, but just given I've been drinking drinks all day. I pulled the baster out.
Oh God.
Behind the bar.
Oops.
Went right in the top of what they used to have, what was called an Alabama Slammer.
Oh yeah.
Or a kamikaze.
Oh yeah.
And I would be going this, and I was feeding people at the bar.
Oh,
and try to.
Did you get fired?
No, didn't get fired.
Look at this.
And that's why he was the coolest guy in the room.
Yeah.
But I did. But I was put on. And those days you're hourly. You need the hours, right?
Yeah.
Shifts. I was put on. What do you call it when they?
Probation?
No, I was kicked out for 2 weeks. Couldn't.
Suspended.
Suspended for 2 weeks.
Suspended with pay.
So,
just for being the
so
master
what I said was,
baster.
so here's what I said. Okay. More coming up. Big Biz Show. We'll see you in a minute.
My Lord.
Do not get in trouble at work.
No. Another beautiful day here in sunny Southern California, although May Gray is kind of creeping in. Mike Costa, Eric Godwin. Greg Todorov is our executive producer. That beautiful man. And another beautiful man behind the bars, Sully.
I am so glad that we're talking to Jonathon Javitt. Jonathon Javitt is the founder, director, and chief scientific officer of NRX Pharmaceuticals. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol NRXP, and there's so much news going on with this company. And we've had the pleasure of having Jonathon in studio a number of times, and we're going to have him in studio again, I believe, next week if I can talk him into it. But I wanted us to take the time today and let Jonathon kind of go through all of the recent news that's going on, keeping in mind, Jonathon, that not only are we in 125 million TV homes on American Life Network and BizTV, we also picked up Bloomberg Financiero in Mexico with another 15 million homes, and now we're running a pilot series for Bloomberg EU, which puts you in another 25 million homes. So you're going to have a kind of a big platform here. But I want you just to bring forward to us all the latest news and maybe give us a real top-down story so the folks that haven't heard you before can kind of hear what the story's about. Great to have you along, Dr. Jonathon Javitt. Good to see you.
Well, thank you, Sully. And by the way, you forgot to tell me about being in all the ships at sea.
Oh, 175 countries? That's right.
Yeah.
He knows the script.
I just want you to know you got a big platform here, so you take advantage of it.
No
pal.
pressure.
You go.
So it's really been an extraordinary week. You know, in 1987, my younger, smarter, better-looking brother, Dan Javitt, discovered something called the NMDA receptor in the brain and started to realize that it had profound implications for the treatment of psychiatric diseases that kill people every day. 2009 really made the first discoveries that drugs that affect this target in the brain have the potential to have profound effect not only on depression, but on the things that cause people to commit suicide. And 2009 is now 15 years ago. Well, it's taken 15 years to get to where we are this week, where we've now got our second clinical trial showing a statistically significant effect of our drug NRX 101, which is a combination of two well-known drugs, D-cycloserine and lurasidone, showing the effect of NRX 101 both as an antidepressant that's every bit as good as the leading antidepressants, but as the first antidepressant that reduces the risk of suicide, reduces a side effect called akathisia. Most people have never heard those words because they're kind of medical speak. But akathisia is the side effect you can get from all known antidepressants where people feel like they're jumping out of their skins. They can't sit still. They feel the urgent need to do something. And if you combine that with depression and thoughts of suicide, all too often there's something they feel the need to do is jump off a roof or in front of a train. So for the first time really in pharmacologic history, we've demonstrated a drug that not only treats depression, but reduces those symptoms that can be lethal rather than increases them.
Dr. Javitt, did you have any inkling before that these were the results you were going to see, or did you have a gut reaction of feeling that, yeah, I think this is what's going to happen?
Well, we had a very good inkling, and at the risk of making people kind of chuckle, Dan saw this in the laboratory back in 2009. You can produce these symptoms in rodents They don't talk to you, but they behave certain ways when you put them in a maze. Rodents that are particularly, agitated, anxious will go and hide in the closed parts of the maze instead of going out and getting the cheese. So laboratory scientists who understand these areas of brain science are able to predict what's going to happen in people. So not only did Dan discover this back in 2009, but he patented it. It's taken 15 years to prove for the second time that the same thing happens in people.
We understand that you're participating in the E.F. Hutton conference next week, is it? Next
yeah,
week?
I think it's the 15th.
We are going to do that, yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, E.F. Hutton is one of the investment banks that has represented us and whose investors have invested in our company. So their analysts have asked us to tell this whole story to their investor community, and we're happy to tell our story to anybody who wants to hear it.
Speaking of the story, Jonathon Javitt, by the way, of course, is founder, director, chief scientific officer of NRX Pharmaceuticals, NRXP. Lots of great news this week in terms of numbers and revenue and such like that. We typically don't talk about numbers and stock prices on the air, but what I do want to talk about is what you are looking forward to most for the rest of the year here, because you have a lot of things going, all of it in the right direction. You can tell just by the news standard of what's happening here that you are herding kittens into a wheelbarrow at one time here, but you seem to be managing to do that. Talk to us about what you're most looking forward to here, because obviously the word's getting out.
Well, sometimes if you put enough good stuff in the wheelbarrow, the cats want to get in by themselves.
Yeah, good point.
That's really what we're hoping for.
You know what? I've never heard that. We're going to write that down.
Sausage and milk.
This is why he's the doctor.
Right.
That's fantastic. So talk about the rest of the year for us in terms of what you can reveal.
I talked about our other drug, ketamine, which we're filing for FDA drug approval because we've got solid data showing that ketamine both profoundly decreases depression, decreases suicidality. You might say, well, why don't we just stick with that? Well, the problem is ketamine requires an intravenous infusion. We're hoping to make it, more easy for patients, but right now you have to come to a clinic. You have to get an intravenous infusion. Over time, like over 6 months, ketamine can damage brain cells. It's highly addictive. So we see it as a great drug for urgently helping people with suicidal depression, but not a great drug for the long term. And we're taking that drug into the FDA drug approval process this year. Meanwhile, the drug I just talked about, NRX 101, is a simple pill that people will be able to take in the comfort of their homes. And we've announced that drug is partnered with a large pharmaceutical company, Alvogen, and their Asian partner, Lotus Pharmaceuticals. So they're now reviewing the data, and assuming they like the data as much as we do, they have a contract that enables them to take it into the registration process themselves and invest the funds that it takes to get a drug approved that could be used by millions of people.
Hey, Jonathon, I obviously great news and such. I never get to spend enough time with you on this, but I want to do this because Dr. Javitt and I have become friends. He's a bit of a mentor. We butt head on some subjects. We are line on other subjects. But I got to talk about this president's thing. You worked for 4 presidents. You worked in big pharma. You've worked in top universities. Why are you in the weeds, which is your favorite saying, into a small biotech company? Because you could be on the administration of some company.
Because I just about flunked psychiatry in medical school. Dan was the brilliant psychiatrist, and I was happy to be his cheerleader. And then my best friend hanged himself in 2009.
Oh my goodness!
Guy who was the head of the whole pain control program at NIH. Guy who was top of his class at Harvard Medical School, top of his class at Yale College. And they put him on an antidepressant, and 3 days later, he hanged himself. And I said, this just doesn't work. So I said to Dan, well, what's going on? And he said, well, all the guys in big pharma, all the big pharmaceutical companies are exiting psychiatry. And that's really what happened. Every single one of the big pharma companies left psychiatry. So we decided that these patients need what we have, and we're going to bring it to these patients.
Love it. Dr. Jonathon Javitt is his name, founder, director, and chief scientific officer, NRX Pharmaceuticals, NRXP. and of course, nrxpharma.com. Have a great session over there at E.F. Hutton at the annual conference, and we will see you next week. There you go.
Is that when E.F. Hutton talks, everybody
People
listens
listen.
to E.F. Hutton? Look at that.
Everett nailed it. E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. Hey there, Big Biz Show. We move on and on and on. Great to have you. And as we continue to talk about this GBM brain cancer, you know, it is the most horrible type of cancer. And we've talked about this a number of times. We talked about Les Goldman on and off the air. Of course, Northwest Biotherapeutics, they are publicly traded. You hear me talk about it online as well as on the air. NWBO is their stock symbol, Northwest Bio. He is the senior vice president, general counsel of a company that is attacking this horrible brain cancer as a clinical stage biotechnology company focusing on personalized cancer vaccines. I bring you once again Les Goldman. Les, welcome to the program. We got some new faces here. Of course, you got Mike Costa, you got Mary Burt Godwin, and Greg Taroff, our producer. Great to have you. I want you to, I think it's timeless for you to go through all the great things that have happened, because you have a list of things that are going on with the company. I'm just going to let you take it away. Great to have you.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here. Nice to see you. I'll try and run down this list quickly. Sorry, I'm hoarse. I'm doing too much talking, but hopefully people will be able to understand what I'm saying. Let me start with our facility, which is one of a kind out in the UK. It's a major asset of the company. There's a shortage of production capacity for dendritic cells. We have been granted the license to operate it on a commercial basis. We're running a compassionate treatment program right now. They call it Specials out in the UK. And we've been granted the right to export the stuff that we're doing there. And we are in the process of now constructing the grade C rooms, which will hold the state-of-the-art mass production facilities called Flaskworks. It's called the Eden system, which we've perfected. We've got great broad patents on. Anybody who wants to use dendritic cells for the future of the standard of care, which is what it's going to be, we believe, will have to come through our patents because they're very broad. We think that this will be the future. We have Syros storage that's now been put in because we freeze it and ship it frozen that store as much as 3 million vaccines. Wow. We have improved our product release time, which took as much as, it takes like 7 days to make the vaccine, but it's been a 3-week approval to make sure it's pure and run all the tests. And we've made the use of AI, working with some other companies, and we're cutting that time down to just a matter of days. We've got the mass production machines that have been perfected have now being fabricated into GMP usefulness, and we'll be having the first one shipped in the coming weeks. We have a very targeted, helpful mechanism of action, which we've analyzed and presented at this last year's ASCO, which basically is going to help us with getting all the approvals. We have the MAA, which is the approval that we need to get to commercially produce the drug itself, is now being reviewed by the MHRA, that's the FDA of the UK. We're not allowed to talk about the details of those discussions, but I would just say to all of our 50,000 shareholders that no news is good news, because if we learned something and given all of our dialogue, which involves the 331 cases over 20 years, which is all obviously very HIPAA related and is very confidential, as well as our Coca-Cola-like formula for how we make this stuff. Yeah. So you're not allowed to talk about any of that stuff. But if as part of our dialogue with them, we heard there was something wrong, we'd have to say so, and that would be material. So no news is good news. We're on a track for an accelerated approval. We're thinking sometime later in the fall, we'll have something to say about that in the Q we file probably tomorrow, which we can't talk about. I just think that we said in our third quarter Q last year in 23 that we were working on a number of combo trials, which relates to the Nature article that we could talk about a little bit if we have any time, that was published yesterday involving combo trials and involving DC VaxL being the catalyst that makes all the other things in combo work, because the rest of them aren't working. That's great for our future and our future business. And we've got continuing monitoring as part of everything we do of the people who are still alive. And back in the third quarter, we announced that there were numerous people still alive. And if you put that together with the last time that we had a patient included in the 331 patients, and we had the last patient treated, that was in November of 2015. So that means whatever the number is of the people still alive, the minimum is 8 years.
Fred, these therapies, you were talking about 3 to 6 months less in some cases. So it's significant. Listen, with the time we have left, I'm going to do a little teasing moment here for our viewers and our radio audience, but mostly our viewers. And by the way, we're in 125 million TV homes via BizTV and American Life Network. But we also picked up Bloomberg Financiero for another 15 million homes, and now we're doing a pilot for Bloomberg EU. So, Les, this is a big audience that you're talking to this time. The reason I want to do this is because I want to talk about short selling, which we've talked about a number of times with you. So, shorting is stocks are the only assets you can sell before you own. Okay, you can't sell your house before you own it. You can't sell your car before you own it. But if you own a share of stock, you can sell it before you own it. It's called short selling. Meaning that and the reason you do that is because you're going to sell at a certain price and hope you can buy it back at a cheaper price and keep the difference. Okay, so I'm going to sell the share of stock. Now I owe the share of stock to the broker. I'm going to buy the share of stock back lower. I'm going to keep the difference of the money. Well, listen, it's an odd argument for the pro. It's an easy argument for the con because there's so much downside. But speaking of con, there is short selling. Then there is called abusive short selling. Then there is called spoofing. And then there is called algorithmic trading. 4 different types of shorting. Only one type of shorting is legal, okay? And we can take some time to go through most of this. But the problem is, and I'm going to say this as a person who's worked in the industry for 30 years. I'm not talking about television industry. I'm talking about investment banking at the highest level, and as trusted advisor to many publicly traded companies. I can tell you that the Bernie Madoff scandal, in terms of stealing riches from companies and stealing riches from individual investors, will only be shadowed by the abusive short selling that's been going on in the last 10 years that is eviscerating company market cap. Market cap equals the amount of outstanding shares in Russ and Mike's Tequila Company multiplied times the share price. You can take a $100 stock and bring it down to $20 in a day by faking that you are selling shares that actually exist, and that doesn't happen. So I'm not going to talk specifically, but I can tell you that Les Goldman wasn't going to put up with it, and his company and the CEO Linda was not going to put up with it. And the long story short, I wasn't going to put up with it. And there's about to be a paradigm shift here, Les. I want to talk about the lawsuit as much as you can, but I want to talk about the state of the industry here with respect to short selling, and understanding that since we're taping the program, if you slip up, we can always cut out anything I said or you said. But talk about that for a minute.
I'll be glad to talk about that. I want to take 15 seconds to mention the Nature article, which was published in a major peer-reviewed journal yesterday, is about a combo trial that Linda Liao worked on between 2010 and 2014 that used us with some other things and is getting 40% even better results than us. And it's big news, and it's caused the shorts to back off on our stock today because there's so many new trades coming in because of this great news for us.
Sure.
That's a good lead-in between the 2 points. Look, we have probably the most important breakthrough trial in the whole corrupt aspect of the way our domestic markets are not policed strongly enough. I have to be very careful what I say about the lawsuit because everything that's in our complaint and in the filings that we've made and in the decisions that we've already received from some of the judges saying that all of our allegations are consistent with the behavior of the market makers that we've sued, which has not happened quite that way before. I would urge everybody to go read some of these things, and if we can spend more time on it, I can refer people to single pages of things that help tell the story. But we've been a victim of this for at least 18 years. We have gotten the best evidence we can get. We've persevered and waited till we could do that before we filed the suit. The suit was filed in December of 22, December 1 indeed. And it's a great story of David versus Goliath. And I'd be glad to elaborate some, but mostly referring to you to what the actual filings and the decisions have already been.
Love it. Les Goldman, thank you, bud. Appreciate it. Les Goldman.
Thank you.
Vice President, General Counsel, Northwest Biotherapeutics, nwbio.com, NWBO. You hear us talk about them all the time. More coming up. Stand by. Big Biz Show.
It is a Big Biz Show in over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. As always, the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces for what you do and what you have done for us. Costa, Maryburg Godwin, Greg Todorov, and Sully.
Wow, what a show today. There we go. Amit Kumar is the chairman and CEO of Anixa Biosciences. Their stock symbol is ANIX. I love this company. They're doing cutting-edge work in cancer immunotherapy. We had such a great conversation with him, and this is the guys. If you recall, and when you see him, you recognize him. We had him on a couple weeks ago. He's the guy who said we want to spend an hour with at some point because I'd love to. It's about I don't know if I could say targeted cell therapy, but it's about immunotherapy, focusing on to harness the immune system for early stage cancers. I give you. The CEO of Anixa Biosciences. Once again, ANIX is their stock symbol. You can go to anixa.com, anixa.com. His name is Amit Kumar. And Dr. Kumar, great to have you back, sir.
Thank you for having me again.
Hey,
great to be back.
For the people that didn't catch you last time, because I know we also got picked up by Bloomberg EU for a pilot series here, and they have not heard your story at all. Take us from the top real quickly and give us just a recap and reset once again what Anixa does.
Yeah, we're a young biotech company that's developing a number of different immunotherapies, but I think the specific program that's getting a lot of attention right now is a preventative breast cancer vaccine for primarily preventing recurrence of cancer in high-risk patients, but eventually for preventing primary presentation of breast cancer.
Talk about if you were to define immunotherapy, you're sitting in the restaurant in between flights and some guy sits next to you and you guys start talking and what do you do? Talk about what immunotherapy actually means.
Well, conventional chemotherapy is something that people are aware of, and that's an approach where we try and use chemicals or antibodies, for example, to try and attack cancer cells directly. The concept of immunotherapy is that you don't attack the cancer cells directly. You try to boost or modulate the immune system of the patient so that the immune system, primarily white blood cells, can attack and destroy the cancer themselves.
Dr. Kumar, I'm the proud son of a breast cancer survivor. Is there a large number of women who see a recurrence of it?
Yeah, it depends on the type of breast cancer, and it depends on how early it was caught. If you have residual disease after your treatment, meaning after all the chemo and surgery and whatnot that you've done, then you have a higher rate of recurrence, sometimes up to 80%. And so there are enough recurrences that it is a serious problem.
Dr. Kumar, I wanted to ask about the preventative vaccine aspect of it. Is that something that young ladies, women, depending on age, I guess how young would they be to get it? And also, would they want to get tested first for the BRCA gene and know if they're already predisposed to getting it? Or would this be something that women across the board would get?
The answer to all of that is yes. Certainly, if you do carry the BRCA gene, you have a higher risk of getting breast cancer. And once our clinical trials are complete and the product is approved, then you would want to take the vaccine. In addition, most women will probably want this vaccine at a later stage in life, sometime in their early 40s, for example. It's not something that you'd give to teenagers, but we anticipate, because of the way the vaccine works, that it would be administered to women at that stage of life.
You know, last time you were on the air with us, Mary asked a question about as a vaccine for younger females, and you just mentioned, again, not for teenagers. Can you expound on that? We got a couple emails after the show wondering what's the difference between giving a vaccine to, let's say, a 17-year-old and giving a vaccine to a 21-year-old?
Well, in general, the process is the same and the immune system responds. But in our case, because the vaccine targets a protein that's a lactation protein, it only shows up in general in the breast and only when a woman is lactating. So after she has had a child, the protein shows up enabling lactation to produce milk to feed the child. And so we would most likely vaccinate after a woman either has decided she's no longer going to have children or is at an age where physiologically she can no longer have children, because this protein only shows up during lactation and during cancer.
Got it.
So if you're at an age where you're not going to have children, then the only time it shows up is in cancer. And so if you vaccinate after the age of childbirth, then the only cells that this vaccine will induce your immune system to destroy are cancer cells.
Hey, Amit Kumar is his name, Chairman and CEO, Dr. Amit Kumar, Anixa Biosciences, ANIX. I have to ask you something about about something you mentioned last time also, and you're talking about focusing on artificial intelligence and high-performance computing as it relates to therapies, with respect to the biotech industry and research. Can you let's talk a little bit about that, because that seems like it puts us, even into the next century. I mean, it sounds like Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, there are a number of things that we're doing. The most recent thing that we're doing is utilizing high HP computing and AI to try and identify other vaccine candidates for other types of cancer. Right now, we have vaccines that are in development for breast cancer and ovarian cancer, but we don't have anything for lung, prostate, or colon, which are the other big 3 high-incidence cancers, and we want to develop vaccines for those as well. And so we're doing some discovery work to see if we can identify antigens or targets, protein targets, that we can induce the immune system to target to prevent those types of cancers.
Amit, I've got a last question for you, and that has to do with just overall, because I've got 2 daughters. Greg's got a daughter. You've got 2 daughters. And you start thinking in terms of I always thought with all of the awareness that goes on, Susan B. Komen, for example, and everything you see on TV,
get tested,
and that we are way ahead of the curve here. What is the one thing that we need to be careful of here? We're not through this battle yet, are we?
No, we certainly are not. And I have 2 daughters as well. Even though overall, our medical community is much better able to treat breast cancer than we were 20 or 30 years ago, the process of treating breast cancer is still very brutal. People talk about the cure for cancer, but what's better than the cure for cancer is preventing the cancer altogether. And that's what we're trying to do.
There you go. His name, Amit Kumar. I got to tell you, we got to get you in studio, man. I could spend a whole hour on this subject. Yep. I think people love it too. Thank you so much. Chairman and CEO, Anixa Biosciences, ANIX is their stock symbol, ANIX. Go to anixa.com. And that does it for us, kids. Another one bites the...
Blue.
All right. It's not Casual Friday tomorrow. It's I slept in my car Thursday.
My favorite.
Watch to see what Mike's going to be wearing. Maybe he puts the picnic table away. I don't know. Maybe,